Hello and welcome to this little video where we're going to take apart the Nikko submarine and inspect for damage and try and put it back together. No one's done this on YouTube, so hopefully this will be a helpful video for people who want to do this themselves. I don't suggest just anyone does it. Do this at your own risk, because you could risk damaging your submarine. This is more for people who want to try and troubleshoot what's going on if they've dug this out of the attic or they've acquired one at a flea market or car boot sale. So here's the submarine. It's the Nikko Sea Star, I believe this one is, but it's under different names. So the first thing you want to do is have a screwdriver, a little bowl to put the screws in, and some patience. So here's the submarine, and we've got the aerial here. So the first thing to do is take the little tubing out that holds the antenna in place. So we've taken that out, put that to one side. So we're going to undo the screws on top of the hull that keep the whole piece together on the submarine. Now I've only got 4 screws on this one. I think there's 6 or 8, so somewhere along the line we've lost those, but it's enough to keep the lid on. So we're going to undo the screws first. That's one. Do the other side. That's the second screw out. There's one on the back here. And the other side. Okay, so we're going to take the nose cone off next, which is just a simple button press. That comes out. You can see the float there, and it's attached to this watertight cover. And luckily this is in one piece. It's not mouldy or cracked, so that's still good. So we're going to put that to one side. So the next step is to take the lid off. I mean, you must remember this submarine's 30 to 40 years old now, so just be careful. So take that off. Okay, put that to one side. Now this is the antenna. It might be tied up to the on and off switch, so we're just going to undo the knot carefully. Take this little pipe tube out. Doesn't do anything, so let's just put that to one side. And now we're going to take off the on and off switch, which is a magnetic switch which triggers the on and off mechanism inside the watertight compartment. Now I've painted this with a bit of red paint so that I don't forget which way it goes on, so it should line up later on when we put it back together. So let's take off these 2 screws. So we're going to take the switch off. There is a little magnet that comes out, so don't lose that, keep that all together. And we're going to put that to one side. Now we're going to turn the boat upside down and take off these 2 retaining screws for the weights. These are flanged screws. A little flange or washer, and they're quite long. So take one out, take the other one out. So we've taken the screws off, and we're going to take this off. There's a lead weight, a circular lead weight, and the holding for the weights. So we're going to put that to one side. The propeller now comes off. It's not attached, it's just on like that. Now if you look carefully, there is a little washer, so don't lose that, and remember which way it goes on. There's 2 little flanges that fit inside. I don't know if you can see that. It fits into that. so keep that together. So we're going to put that in the bowl. Now this piece comes off. Remember which way that came out, and then we've got this little shaft that comes out, and that's held in with a magnetic attachment inside there. So we're going to put that in the bowl. Now we're going to take off these 4 small flange screws. Now this piece comes off. There we are. There's a washer and a magnet and this piece. Okay. So now we're going to undo these 2 screws, and this holds the watertight compartment inside so it doesn't slide out. That comes out. It's a flanged screw with a little rubber washer. We'll do the other one. There's only 2 of these. Okay. Now we need to take out the retainer for this antenna. Okay. So there's 2 small screws here. We'll take off the retaining plastic. Just pull it through the aerial, and then with the end of your screwdriver just gently move the little bung. Careful not to damage it. And that runs along the wire. So we just pull gently, hold the antenna one end and just pull, because this little is a seal. This is a little seal that stops water getting into the watertight compartment. So now you should be able to be ready to pull out the watertight compartment. So you just grab something on here. So I'll just slightly tip it perhaps. There we are. It's come loose. So gently pull it out, and then you have access to the inside. So the aerial is going to come all the way out, and this is the watertight inside the watertight compartment. Now this is the aerial. This can be removed from the circuit board. You can just grab the end of it and just pull, and it comes out. And there's a little post for where the aerial goes into. So you can replace the aerial if it's damaged. So it goes onto that post here where my screwdriver is pointing. So that's important to remember that, because when you put this back together you're going to have to thread this aerial back through the little hole. So I'm going to put the aerial down and just examine the submarine. So you've got the motor, the circuit board, and none of the capacitors are bulging, so that's a good sign. There's no rust anywhere, and I have tested this submarine recently and it does all fully work. One of the things is, with the 40 megahertz frequency that these submarines operate on, it is interfered by Wi-Fi routers. So if you're doing this indoors, turn off your Wi-Fi router and the submarine actually works much better. I believe some Wi-Fi routers are operating on 40 megahertz as well. That may be a problem if you're running the submarine outside and there's a Wi-Fi hotspot nearby, and unfortunately the submarine may have very poor range or erratic responsiveness. You could rip out the electronics and put your own modern electronics in there, so that could be a project for somebody. So going back to the parts, so this is the magnetic on and off switch that's operated from the outside. This is the dive control motor, and there is the servo control mechanism for the directional control. So we're going to try and put this back together now. So the first thing you want to do is pop the submarine down and pick up the hull. This is the hull, and you grab your little aerial that you pulled out. So this is the end with the attachment. Thread the aerial into that hole. Okay, probably about 2/3, so it comes out the other end. Here we are. So now we're going to attach that end back onto that post. So there we go, it goes straight on there, nice fit. Now this is the tricky part, I think. So we want to insert the circuit board into the watertight compartment whilst pulling this lead, so that it doesn't get caught on anything inside. So we want to just put that in there and then pull the aerial as you insert the watertight compartment back in. So it's a little bit tricky, but just make sure it's reasonably tight as you pull it in. Now you might have to push quite hard and it should click in, because you've got to remember it's got to connect with the little notch there, which is on the other side of this, and a notch connected to the propeller. So that clicks in, and now you should be able to put the screws, watertight compartment screws, back on now, and they should tighten up. If they just spin, you're not lined up, and that tightens up nicely so no water can get in. So the aerial's nice and tight all the way through. Get the other screw with the washer and the flange, that goes on there, that's nice and tight. So now we're going to do this part. Let's just try and remember which way everything goes. So we've got this part that goes in like so. Now we've got the rubber washer that goes in there. We've got this part that goes on like that, and that's held on with 4 flange short screws. Now we've got this magnetic shaft that just sits in there, held in with a magnet. And then we've got this part that goes straight on like so. Make sure the shaft's lined up through the middle. Now we've got to have the propeller, which has a hexagonal end to it that fits on the shaft like so. Now we're going to take the magnets, we're going to take the weights off that. We've still got the lead weight inside there, so we're going to just be ready to put that on in a sec. Now we've got the little red washer, and that fits in with the notches. You can see the notches on both. I would put that so it fits in like so, and then carefully I'll take the propeller back out, actually pop it in on there, okay, and then we're going to just marry those two up like that. Now we're going to put the long bolts back in. I'm going to grab our weights. Now if you turn that around, the lock ring if you like, in on itself, the weights should just slot in. I'll just do one at a time. And then you just turn the lock ring around like so, and those weights are locked in. So now we can turn this back around, and now we are going to get our little antenna washer. It's very small. And we're going to thread it through the antenna, so narrow side towards the submarine, and just pull it through and make sure that wedges in nicely into the hole so no water can get in. So let's push that down. Little retainer, thread it through. So it sits on there. We'll just grab our two screws. Now we're going to grab our switch that we've got the red mark and just line up the red marks. Make sure the magnet's inside the switch. That goes on like that. There we are. Okay, grab your little pipe. That goes on. Pull it tight to the other end. And I'm going to redo our little knot so it just holds that in place. Okay. Get the hole, poke it through the first hole, like so, grab that, pull. Might replace that wire, get a really long one. That goes on like that. So it's looking good now. Get our screws. Okay. Now I took off the battery compartment because it was easier to pull that out, in and out. I didn't show you that on camera, so we're just going to put that back in. Get your hole plate, pop that on there. That just clips on. Get your antenna tube, thread it through. And there we go. That is your submarine taken apart and put back together. So if you enjoyed that one, we'll see you next time.